Hello there, I've been wanting to start a series about using real-world history and folklore to improve pop fantasy that has gone stale and divorced from reality. All great fantasy works are rooted in deep culture and history of our world, but lately most fantasy media is just based on other fantasy, and it goes on and on like an Ouroboros. So I'll try to bring us back to reality and in the process realize that our world is more magical than we might have imagined. Of course, this is a tall task and I am in no way qualified to do anything. So feel free to share your ideas, criticize, and I'll be sure to take them to heart. All that pre-ramble aside, let's get back to the big ramble. The topic of this video, guns. Or as more cultured of us call it,
this is my boomstick!
And why modern fantasy hates it. Guns play a huge part in my and many other cultures. National Caucasian costume is defined by its gun charge holsters, masrebi, and the big boom metal tube has been part of Asian, Middle Eastern, African and European culture for more than 600 years. It's a part of our history and folklore, carving magic spells and prayers into them for centuries. Even to this day, many cultures, including Eastern Europe, bless their guns for battle. This might be silly to some, but magic guns were as much a part of our reality as magic swords. But for some reason, America, built and defied by the gun, can't find a proper space for boomsticks in their imagination. The age of knights in shining armor and age of gunpowder are universe apart in Western consciousness, while cannons and even guns were part of knights or samurai's arsenal. I don't fully understand why there even is a sharp line drawn in some people's minds. Some blame the lack of media representation, but gunpowder is explicitly a part of Lord of the Rings, both used by Gandalf and Saruman. Tolkien being grandfather of modern fantasy landscape, we can't really blame him. But it's not common to see firearms in stories inspired by high Middle Ages. There are some games that use it, like Warhammer Fantasy and World of Warcraft, for example. It's also a big part of pirate mythology, such as Pirates of the Caribbean, or in any new world of fiction, such as Solomon Kane. But sadly, there aren't a lot of popular fantasy set in the age of discovery and revolution, other than steampunk, which often plays around with the art of combustion in many different ways, not just gunpowder. But often I had fantasy fans show disdain for firearms of any kind, except cannon sometimes, and many DMs don't allow guns in their worlds, but boomsticks have been part of D&D from very start. Apparently it's not medieval enough, or doesn't fit in the world filled with goblins and ghouls, where our world equivalent of STEM major can vaporize a small village, or you can get so good at trombone that you can kill a man with just slam poetry. I'll try to argue for firearms in fantasy, both with historical and game mechanical angles, that yes, gunpowder belongs in historical fantasy worlds, and that we can use many cool examples to design practical uses and limitations. In this video, I'll try to present historical context and use of firearms in the context of ranged weapons, showing the arms race from Stone Age to the modern period, looking at its uses and challenges, starting with big rock and culminating with flintlock. First, let's begin with the big rock. No, not that one, the other one, yes, that. Humans' ability to throw things is one of the main reasons we dominate the world today. Our frail bodies and weak skin can't face the might of even some smaller critters, but our ability to hurt things from far away greatly increase our chances of survival. And using our big brains, we turn stick and rock into our first ranged weapons, spear and sling. The technological jump is immense as spear greatly improves at sharp stick technology, improving its piercing power and longer range. Sling, on the other hand, takes rock throwing ballistic, making it far longer range and way more deadly. But a big point here, both weapons need quite a lot of training to use effectively, and the chance to miss is very high. Sling especially took your whole life to be good at, and javelins just are more expensive and run out faster. Then of course came the bow. Innovating on the pointy stick and string technology, we get one of the most powerful weapons on the battlefield, more accurate than the sling and longer range than the javelin. It had the best of both worlds. The bow changed everything in hunting and in war. Give a bow to a guy on a horse and your enemies are done for. That's why nomads dominated the civilized world quite often. But if you're bothered by those horsey shooty boys, just put your archer somewhere safe, like a tower, and let the arrows rain. Then again, you can just give a bow to a brute like me. It needs a lifetime of training. Without proper guidance, you'd hurt yourself before hurting someone else. We of course evolved our stick and string science further, inventing many siege weapons to deal with the buggers who won't come out of those pesky little castles. My favorite being ballista, throwing spear-sized projectiles with string technology. It's harder to make and it's cumbersome to aim. If only we could carry it around and it not to be such a lumbering. Introducing crossbow, all the power of a bow and more, with far less skill to entry. Just load the bloody thing, aim and fire. You can make it quite heavy, powerful enough to pierce armored up knight quite easy. Only drawback is the reload speed. A trained archer can fire multiple shots before a crossbowman even aims a second shot. But then again, you can have 5 crossbows for the price of 1 bow dude, as it takes years of training to get a decent bowman, but a crossbow is much simpler tool. Just load, point and shoot. Then of course came the gunpowder and its many ways to make a boom, be it from a cool cannon or with a big bomb. But what is a gun? In short, a gun is a tube that has projectile and explosive that makes the thing go really fast. That also that you can hold it in your hand. The definition might be very broad, but you get the picture. The main technology that made guns possible, the black powder, is brought to us by the clever folk of the Orient, the Middle Kingdom, that traveled through the Silk Road through Asia, Middle East, then to Africa and Europe, evolving along the way, being adopted, changed and improved, so much that in short few centuries gunpowder reshaped the whole world, completely changing the balance that we knew before, making those who had it unstoppable, but those who didn't suffered greatly. Hello dear viewers, and we're back at Georgian Military Museum with our friend David the Chocha, our tour guide and historical advisor, and we're going to talk to him about guns.
Hello.
Hello. When did guns came into Georgia and how was it actually used?
First period when we talk about in our culture cannons and guns, this is the Tamerlan period, and
Yes.
maybe he used it Modfas. But in 15th century, 1445, the Turkish siege Akhaltsikhe, or we have other date, French Burgundian
Burgundian knights, yes,
pirates landing and have a battle with Gurian noble, and he imprisons them.
Imprisons them, yes. As you can see, in medieval times we already had gun battles and gunpowder. Now let's talk about what are these that all Georgian chokhas, not all, but Georgian chokhas have, and how we load a gun.
This is for gunpowder, and we use it for so.
Yes, we had paper charges like this.
Is paper charges, and we put inside, but we have some differences with European because we have a different type of flintlock.
Yes.
And we don't have protect of finger, and we don't have a big handle here, and we don't use it bayonets.
Yes, bayonets.
Yes, our barrels have 8 corners.
Here are
And this
bayonets.
is
You can see how
bayonet,
long
yes.
the bayonet pointy end is.
Yes. And now please demonstrating how we reloading gun. First of all.
All right, here we go. Time me.
Yes.
First, we take out our paper charge. Then,
Yes.
wait,
Open.
wait.
Open.
Ah,
Then you shoot
Huh?
the gunpowder. Yes.
Oh my God.
Then you need to put the
Then goes the bullets.
and then you put the paper.
Then we put the paper. I'm not going to actually put.
And
Then
you
we
put the stick.
put the stick in and load it.
Yes.
Make sure it's nice and tight. Then
You open the matchlock
we open
and need to
flintlock.
open
Yes, and then put another charge here.
closed
Close it.
and shoot.
And then shoot. Unfortunately, we can't actually demonstrate the charge going off because it's illegal in Georgia. And until last change, this is the best demonstration you're gonna get.
So we put inside here and you made bullet. Made bullet here.
Yes, this is a mold.
Yes.
You pour hot lead into it and you get
But
a...
you need to cut this
Yes.
because when you made it, you have a like this. When you made it, you need to cut the bullet here. And when you cut, you can use it. So we have different type of this.
Very nice, very nice. So, as you saw, it took a bit of a long time for me to load. With more training I could get under a minute, but it has far more parts and expensive bits compared to crossbow. So why did the gun win over something as classical as a bow or even a crossbow? Time it takes a gun or a bolt tosser to load, you could fire multiple arrows, but it is easier to train a peasant how to use a crossbow or a gun so you can arm more soldiers. But big question here is why did the guns replace the crossbow? Both have their benefits and limitations. Both take quite a while to load, especially the early gun. But both are bad at damp and wet conditions. Both are expensive to make and need constant maintenance, but I'll take a good old crossbow over early handgun any day, if not for the factor of power. While crossbow is famous for its high poundage, gun packs a bigger punch. In this time, European warfare was dominated by smaller, heavily armed knights and sellswords who were engaged in forever wars over small patches of land. If you wanted to win, you needed better and better weapons to pierce those pesky knights' shiny metal ass. Crossbows are accurate but lose a lot of power further it goes. Early firearms are less accurate but able to pierce armor from much further away. Now give those guns to angry peasants who are oppressed by those noble warrior class for thousands of years and see how medieval feudal caste system crumbles. This is why we don't see guns as we know them now being developed in China. While Europe had smaller armies with heavier armor, in East Asia they had much bigger armies with lots of unarmored mobs you can blow up. So they preferred to use gunpowder for explosives and use the boom dust for many other creative weapons. While in Middle East and Europe they had heavily armored soldiers, so from handheld cannons, guns developed to pierce the armored opponents. Many points I brought up here can be argued and disagreed with, so please do so. Write your comment, give me engagement, and I'll try my best to answer. Reminder, I am not an expert in any sort of way, and I am very happy to learn more. Other than that, thank you for watching. I appreciated all my glorious patrons on Patreon and Ko-fi, and big ol' thanks to all my new subscribers. Barely made a 5k special and already up to 10k. It's all thanks to you, dear viewer. So to infinity and beyond. Take care.